In the year 476 AD, a teenage emperor sat on the throne of the greatest empire the world had ever seen. But within days, he would lose everything. No massive final battle, no epic last stand, just a quiet moment when a barbarian general walked into the palace and ended nearly 1,000 years of Roman rule. This was the moment known as the fall of the Western Roman Empire, a turning point that reshaped the entire course of world history. But here's the strange part. The Roman Empire didn't collapse in a single day. It slowly rotted from the inside for centuries. And when the final blow came, Rome was already dying. The empire that ruled the world. At its height, the Roman Empire was almost unimaginably powerful. Stretching across 3 continents, Rome controlled lands from Britain to the Middle East and from North Africa to the heart of Europe. At its peak under Trajan, the empire governed nearly 70 million people, roughly a quarter of the world's population at the time. Roman engineers built roads that stretched over 400,000 kilometers. Their armies were the most disciplined fighting force on earth. Their cities had running water, public baths, libraries, massive arenas. While much of the world still lived in small villages, Rome was building cities of over a million people. For centuries, it seemed like the Roman Empire might last forever, but underneath the power and glory, the cracks were already forming. Starting in the 3rd century, the empire entered a period historians call the Crisis of the 3rd Century. Within just 50 years, Rome had more than 20 different emperors. Most of them didn't retire peacefully. They were assassinated. Civil wars erupted constantly as generals fought each other for the throne. Meanwhile, outside the borders, powerful enemies were growing stronger. Germanic tribes were pressing against the northern frontier. Persian armies attacked in the east, and Rome's once unstoppable legions were becoming weaker. Why? Because Rome was running out of Roman soldiers. So the empire began recruiting fighters from outside its borders, warriors from the very tribes Rome had once fought against. Many of these men would later become the empire's greatest threat. By the 4th and 5th centuries, enormous migrations were sweeping across Europe. Entire tribes were on the move. The reason? A terrifying new force from the east, the Huns. Led by the legendary Attila the Hun, these warriors pushed many Germanic tribes directly into Roman territory. Groups like the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths flooded across the empire's borders. At first, Rome allowed some of them to settle inside the empire, but this decision would backfire. In 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. Rome, the eternal city, was sacked for the first time in 800 years. The attackers were the Visigoths, led by Alaric I. For 3 days, the city was looted. The psychological impact was enormous. For centuries, people believed Rome was invincible. Now the illusion was shattered, and worse was still to come. Over the next decades, the Western Roman Empire began losing territory rapidly. The Vandals seized North Africa, Rome's main grain supply. The Visigoths took control of Spain. The Franks expanded in Gaul. Britain was abandoned entirely. By the mid-400s, the Western Empire had shrunk to little more than Italy itself. Real power no longer belonged to the emperors. Instead, it was controlled by powerful military generals, many of whom were not even Roman.
The frontier
And one of those generals
from the forests
was
beyond the
about to
Rhine,
make
the Franks
history.
gathered. At dawn, their war horns echoed through the mist, and no wall was safe. Axes splintered shields, rams thundered at the...
In 475 AD, a boy named Romulus Augustulus became emperor. He was only about 14 years old. The real ruler behind the throne was his father, a Roman general named Orestes. But the army that protected Rome was no longer made up of Roman citizens. Most were Germanic mercenaries, and they were angry. They demanded land inside Italy as payment for their service. Orestes refused. That decision would seal Rome's fate. In 476 AD, a Germanic commander named Odoacer led a rebellion. His troops marched into Italy and defeated the Roman army. Orestes was captured and executed. Then Odoacer entered the imperial capital. Inside the palace sat the young emperor Romulus Augustulus. Instead of killing him, Odoacer did something unexpected. He simply removed him from power. The imperial crown and robes were sent to the Eastern Emperor in Constantinople, and just like that, the Western Roman Empire was gone. Interestingly, many people living at the time didn't even realize what had happened. There was no dramatic announcement, no official end of the empire. Life simply continued under a new ruler. But historians today recognize this moment, 476 AD, as the symbolic end of ancient Rome. Yet the Roman legacy didn't disappear. The eastern half of the empire survived for another 1,000 years as the Byzantine Empire. Roman law, architecture, language, and culture would shape Europe for centuries. Even today, many of our governments, roads, and legal systems trace their roots back to Rome. The fall of Rome wasn't just the end of an empire. It marked the beginning of an entirely new era, the Middle Ages. But one question still fascinates historians today. Was Rome destroyed by barbarian invasions? Or did it collapse from its own internal weakness? Because sometimes the greatest empires don't fall from outside attacks. They fall from within.